Alright, greetings everyone and welcome to another video. And today, it's been 24 hours, roughly, since the live stream yesterday. It has been 24 hours since basically everything was kind of announced. And getting past bets, because bets will be, figured out a little bit later. Maybe somebody's already been working on figuring them out. I haven't been. But it's been 24 hours. The initial shock and excitement of some of the announcements has worn off, has sat and stewed in my brain for a little bit, and I'm here to talk about overall, thus far for the second anniversary. What are the positives? What are the negatives based on what we've seen so far? What are my takeaways from the second anniversary so far? Where do I think the game is going? Is this good or bad? And why none of this even really matters that much. But, I've been having thoughts. I've been thinking about it for the last 24 hours. And I want to talk about some of my positives and negatives. And I do want to say that I do have a fair number of positives as opposed to negatives. But my overall impressions are also a little bit complex. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that I thought was positive and some of the stuff I thought was negative. So first of all, let's get the very obvious one out of the way. And in my YouTube comments, someone recently commented saying that they were disappointed by my general impression, saying that, well, I just didn't really have too much high impressions for certain old collaborations coming back. And let me explain. While I understand that it's good for old players to get these characters, to get all of the stuff that they potentially missed, when a collaboration comes back, I feel like it should really add something. And I don't just mean EXs. I don't mean just bringing characters back on par. But, take, for example, the FF14, which has no new characters, no new content, no relation to the collaborate. To the new expansion, no weapons, and a single vision card with artwork that is just taken from something else. I have to say that's pretty disappointing. There's a lot of great content to get out of this game, and I don't think that it's unfair to say that this is one of the biggest disappointments from the live stream, because, well, short of seeing the numbers, short of seeing the percentages and the values on these EX upgrades for Ishtul and Thancred, it's very unlikely that they're going to become meta. And there's almost no reason to, because they're not premium characters, they're not gacha characters, so I don't see them becoming meta. But you take FF4, which didn't add too terribly much, but it brought old characters up, it gave new weapons, new equipment, it even gave us a new Trial of Judgment, and big shoutouts to the fact that it actually gave us at least one new character, which is enough in my books to really mean that a collaboration should come back. It's just that announcing this at a second anniversary really stung, because you think that there would have been more to show than this. And we'll talk about that idea just a little bit later. But in all honesty, this was one of my biggest negatives. While I love 14, I love these characters have been subpar almost since day one. And they were extremely awful experiences on the JP side. And when people ask me, hey, is there any character you ever pulled for that you were really regretful about? It's Thancred. It's freaking Thancred. And Globalers, I don't care about your experience on this one. This is a JP experience back when the game launched. Thancred was freaking awful back then, and he's been awful ever since, and he's been definitely the biggest regret I've ever had in this game. So yes, I don't have too terribly much to say positive about FF14. It's coming back, yay, I guess, but there's so much left up in the air. And it seems very wishy-washy. This seems like, okay, we're going to do this to take advantage of, what's going on, but I'm left saying, so what? And that's probably not a good feeling. So, barring that the 14 comes back and is amazing, for whatever reason, it's super lackluster, given everything that 14 has to offer and how amazing that game is. Fight me on it. Anyway, continuing on, FF6. this is a personal one. You don't have to take this personally, whoever likes FF6. I know I'm very happy for all of you who are big fans of FF6. I'm not. Final Fantasy VI is a Final Fantasy I respect for being, one of the more story-driven early entries, one of the ones that did more things, that has a very colorful and interesting cast of characters, and did a lot of good stuff. I totally understand all of that. But I don't care that much about FF6, and I don't care that much about its characters. It's one that I've tried to get into multiple times. It's just not my jam. So while I'm not going to give a positive for FF6 being the announced one, also because there's no summon, really? There's just a vision card, that's it? I do feel that FF6, while it is showing some content, it's a little bit disappointing that we didn't get, again, this is a new collaboration announced with no new event type. It's, they didn't even talk really about that much for the events, which is also kind of disappointing. Like, this doesn't feel like they're hiding or they're waiting to show something off. This just feels like, oh, well, this is what they got kind of thing. And really, I've been saying this for a long time, so this is still a valid thing to talk about, is that it doesn't feel like we're getting collaborations evolving at all. We're at 2 years in, and there's no connected story. There's not even a cutscene. There wasn't really any promises made on Livestream. And that's disappointing. Like, it's not just the fact that it's Final Fantasy VI and it isn't Final Fantasy VIII, and that was a bet I had. It really is just that FF6 is not my favorite, and the collaborations still feel really half-baked, just to put characters in. And it's great to see these characters, especially Celeste, which Celeste is probably going to be my character of choice for this one. And one that I'm actually going to roll, get up to level 120. I'm really excited for, and this is, actually I'm just going to segue into a positive, because it's actually not all negative. I have to say that all three of these characters look interesting. I think that Locke is going to be a great little free character, especially because Lucio is a free character and Light is looking like a good beginner element. Terra looks pretty fun, just being a frontline DPS who can take some damage, and a frontline magical DPS, and I think she's in a really good element, and fire will greatly benefit from her. But also, like, Celeste, if there's one thing I'm going to say, I like all of the characters, I like all of their initial kits, they all seem really interesting, and that's a big positive, the fact that each of these characters feels like they will have something unique and interesting to bring to each of their elements, and just the game in general. So while FF6 is not my favorite, and I'm not going to say this is a huge overall positive, I do like that this is, I like what is being done with the characters, and that's a big positive for me. Next up, just the farm. I mean, I don't really know what they could have done with this. I don't think giving us triple farming shards would have really broke the bank for them. But after 2 years, and the rates in these drops have not really improved and everything like that, it's kind of a little disappointing to just see drops slightly increased for a short period of time again, like not even quadrupled job points or anything. It's just feels really, really, really lackluster in terms of the campaigns that have been announced so far. And I'm sure there'll be more. There will be more over the course of the entire month. But for the initial, this just feels like business as usual at this point. And I want to put this in perspective. At the 1.5 anniversary on the JP side, we got triple elemental mats farming on the elemental map farm stages. Boy, did that feel really special, because that had not happened before. And that seems to be just not here. Again, not complaining, but when farming is such a big thing in this game, it would have been nice to see a little bit more for a major anniversary and not even a half-year anniversary. But it's a little deflating, to say the least. Alright, now I'm going to segue into some positives, and I'm not going to touch Trust Masteries, because Trust Masteries is something that I want to talk about at the end, but this, double vision cards for certain characters. I love this. I absolutely love this, and I'm going to tell you why. It really shows a commitment to balancing old characters to new characters, while still keeping new characters feeling slightly powerful. This is nice. I'm not saying that this is going to be perfectly balanced. I'm not saying that this is going to be perfect in every way. But I do have to say that it is a really nice sign that they are not giving up on old characters, that old characters are getting boosts, and this could even just really help people, maybe some mid-tier players or some lower-tier players, clear selection quests easier. Like, there's a lot of different ways that this could be really good. I'm sure that there will be a cost involved with this, but it's nice to see them balancing old characters and not giving up on old characters too. And that was given with Master Quests, but even the fact that they dedicated some of the second anniversary for this, the live stream, is a very positive thing. Next up, I just want to give a shout out to another story which has been by far and away the best part of the game, with, you know, more story segments, some really interesting, well-designed characters. If there's something I'm not going to complain about, it's how interesting each of these characters have been so far. Lucio is free, Jum is a really amazing tank, Setia is an absolutely terrifying long-distance character, who was one of the top performing characters in the official tournament. That was great. Renan is already strong, and now we have a new ice character as well. It's great so far. It's actually a ton of fun, and I'm really enjoying this. And just to talk a little bit more, the design of each of these characters is actually fantastic. Just seeing all of the different designs that we have is just so cool. And I think there was a little confusion. This might be a boss, this might be a gacha character, but it is definitely a Warrior of Crystal, so there you go. But the designs are fantastic on these guys, all the way from the start with Lucio to now down to this guy and whatever comes in the future. Big shout outs to the fact that these are just really fun. I enjoy them, and I can't wait to see more of these in the future. Next up, and definitely my favorite thing from the entire live stream, was Chaos Summons. Summons have been feeling not stale. They've still definitely have a really good place for what's going on right now. But Chaos Summons just sounds so freaking cool. I don't even know if I care that much about the power creep. I actually kind of wish that these did push the power creep a little bit more, although it's kind of vague and nebulous at this point. I have to say that this is great. Votive vision card artwork is some of the best artwork in the game, or best in a lot of games, actually. I think these artworks are absolutely fantastic, and I really think that they could probably sell full-size prints of these bad boys to people, and people would buy them. But these are just really good. This is really fascinating. The fact that this has lore behind it. This was one of the coolest things in the entire live stream, and definitely my favorite thing. I hope that they go pretty hard on this, but, you know, obviously not too terribly hard. But I'm excited for this. I'm actually excited for this, and I'm excited to see what comes of this, story elements, or... because this is the best thing I've seen in Brave Exvius history, basically. So let's do more of this. They're not just dark, they're actually chaos. So it's really cool. I really hope that that's not a new crystal to summon in the future. And one more thing that I'm just going to give a shout out was the fact that they did an official tournament. It was a lot of fun to watch actually on stream. Seeing just a variety of characters being used, not just mono light, mono dark. And just the whole tournament, from the people who were playing it, who got to change teams and try their best and get to the end of the tournament. It was a lot of fun. Mono Fire ended up taking the championship with a team of UR Mont, UR Glassy, Fire Glassy, obviously, and last but not least was Setia. So it was a really fun tournament, and I really enjoyed this, and I hope they do this again, but a manual, because if you're going to do an entire day of live streams, why not just do a manual tournament and really show people what this game can do at times? I think it would be really fun, and I hope to see this happen again, maybe a pickup tournament, but definitely this was one of the big positives. And that brings me kind of to the end. And this is one of the things where I'm going to bring in trust masteries and my overall thoughts. Because my overall thoughts about a lot of this year, while it was a ton of fun doing intervisions and all of that, my big takeaway is how half-baked this anniversary feels. And, you know, Corona, whatever, working conditions and all of that, but none of that was really talked about in the live stream. So I'm just going to say basically what we saw. From the rewards of the live stream, which felt kind of meh, you know, and a lot of stuff just felt really the same as first anniversary, with just feeling more restrictions. Like, they even announced the fact that we all get to choose a UR of our choice, which is very generous, and I'm not looking to give horse in the mouth, but so much this year has been limited, double cost, collaboration, or, you know, seasonal limited. Like, there's just so many units this year that you can't get. And it's frustrating. It really is frustrating. And it wasn't just that. It was the fact that, you know, things like the Trust Mastery system, Chaos Summons, whatever their plans are for quality of life, it's all just vagueness. And a lot of it was like, we'll expand more upon this later. Well, you have our attention now. You did a 3-hour live stream, basically, and you can't give us really perfect details right now. It's kind of frustrating. It's frustrating when it gets right down to it. The fact that this anniversary just feels like, really just looking over it, a lot of half stuff, where the FF6 collaboration was announced, but no summon for that, no summon vision card, at least that, you know, if they were going to announce it, they probably would have. You know, Kefka was shown off, but he's not going to be a gacha character yet, just potentially being safe like Golba is later. Free polls that a mediocre FF14 campaign, definitely, to be sure. While up vision rates, or up drop rates, nothing that felt really too terribly special. And like I said, a lot of vagueness in terms of what a lot of their plans are and where this stuff is. You know, just going back to one of my favorite things, while I'm super happy about Chaos Summons, they were really wishy-washy on exactly how strong they are. Meaning, it just felt kind of like there wasn't a plan. They're kind of just going by the shoestrings, and, you know, okay, I guess. But I just felt like this was not really that much of an anniversary. It felt more like a celebration, for sure, but it just didn't feel like a second anniversary. Again, going back to the 1.5 anniversary, there's just a lot of stuff in this that was just conspicuously missing. Elena and Sazin apparently aren't just happening yet. Seems like it would have been a good time to announce them at the second anniversary. I mean, yes, I get it. They want people to focus on FF6, but this is your anniversary. Live it up. People will want both, for certain. People want FF6. They'll want Elena. And it's not like you're fooling us with the fact that the next banner isn't going to be potentially also something great. So, I'm just left with this feeling of just being like, there's stuff I really like, and I think that there were overall more positives than negatives in this live stream, and that's a good thing. But I have to say that the feeling of overall of this second anniversary thus far, and it can change still for anyone who's worried or thinks I'm being a naysayer, and I will totally fess up to it later in another video if it turns out to be. But so far, my overall feeling for the fact that it's supposed to be an anniversary is kind of meh, and I don't think that's unwarranted. Let me know what you think. After 24 hours, what are your thoughts? Is the JP anniversary a absolutely amazing thing and I am totally wrong? An awful thing? And of course, always explain your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. And to the May anniversary, we'll see what happens and if it can really impress us. Take care.